Hey, what's up everybody, Josh here, and today we're going to be reviewing the first DLC pack for Breath of the Wild, the Master Trials. Now, when Breath of the Wild was first released, it did so to universal critical acclaim. People loved its outstanding presentation, its gameplay mechanics, and extreme non-linearity. Even seasoned veterans could spend over 100 hours in this game, and then Nintendo decided to sweeten the deal a little bit more by offering a season pass. That season pass came with two distinct DLC packs. The first, which was just recently released, was the Master Trials. We'll be taking a look at that today. And the second is the Champions Ballad, which will be coming out later this year, and that's going to include additional content and also an entirely new dungeon for players to explore. But for today, let's go ahead and take a look at whether or not you should go ahead and plunk down the $20 for that season pass and what exactly you'll get for your money if you want to go ahead and start exploring at the Master Trials. First up, let's talk a little bit about the Trial of the Sword. The Trial of the Sword is only accessible if you've already unlocked the Master Sword in the main game. As long as you have it, you can visit Korok Forest at any time, reinsert the blade into its original resting place, and start the Trial of the Sword. The trials themselves are a challenge, but not brutal to the point of frustration. However, the capacity for some frustration definitely increases when you take on the final challenges. Each set of challenges has its own shtick. Sometimes you'll be forced to fight in a vertical wind tunnel, which can make relying on your bombs an exercise in futility. In others, you'll be pitted against the elements, relying on sparse occurrences of element-weathering foods and periodic break rooms to keep you equipped for the task. Every time you successfully complete a section of the trials, you'll get a nice 10-point damage bump with the Master Sword, maxing out at 60 damage when you've completed all 45 of the challenges. That may sound daunting, but the stretches of challenges are split up into 3 distinct sections: beginning, middle, and final, with 12, 16, and 23 floors respectively. So you don't have to play all 45 of the rooms straight through. You can come back and choose to do each individual section one at a time. But once you're in, there's no saving and you have to complete that section to continue. Thankfully, within each of those sections, there are also periodic safe rooms. You can't save there, but you can do things like stock up on fresh supplies, grab berries to bring you back to life whenever you fall in battle, and also perform cooking in between to make sure that you're well stocked for the challenges ahead. The beginning and middle trials are manageable, but the final trials is an exercise in endurance, so be ready to scrounge every weapon, arrow, and piece of food you can find. Especially important is cooking your food as efficiently as possible to buff yourself with overflow hearts before beginning the final stretch. On my first attempt, I died on the final enemy of the final level of the final trial and had to start the entire 23-room stretch all over again. Ouch. Still, for those looking to bone up on their combat skills and unlock the true power of the Master Sword, the Trial of the Sword is a good way to burn a few hours if you're thirsty for more combat. The other big offering here is Master Mode. If you were surprised by how many deaths you encountered the first time around in Breath of the Wild, Master Mode ups the punishment even further, giving enemies increased health that also regenerates. There are also new gold variants of monsters replacing the previous top of the food chain silver versions. And there are also floating platforms that can pop up out of nowhere, giving archers an extreme verticality that can be difficult to neutralize when caught off guard. Beyond buffing the enemies, though, Master Mode is largely the same as the regular game. No new shrines or abilities have been added, nor are there any mechanical tweaks to things like weapon durability. Master Mode is most intimidating in the early portions, where your only resources are sticks or low-level woodcutter axes. But once you find your rhythm and get your first couple of extra heart containers, the challenge is there, but definitely less daunting than when you first emerge ready to fight. You can also increase your odds of survival dramatically by emphasizing sneak, so you'll definitely benefit from grabbing the Sheikah armor from Atino Village, or the newly added Majora's Mask, which gives you some relative impunity when infiltrating enemy camps. Beyond the Trial of the Sword and Master Mode, there are also some new armor sets you can collect, a teleportation function which lets you define a place that you'd like to teleport back to anywhere in the world, and also a Hero's Path mode that gets unlocked for your map. This is actually a really neat feature, both for nostalgia and practically speaking, you can see all the places you haven't visited. Even after 150 hours, I was delighted to see so many barren spots I hadn't managed to traverse throughout my initial playthrough, and immediately started charting courses for areas that looked interesting, but for whatever reason I hadn't had occasion to explore. So, should you pick up the expansion pass for Breath of the Wild? If you're still working your way through your first playthrough, you can probably safely wait until later on, as you still have plenty to keep you busy in the world without worrying about things like Trial of the Sword or working your way through the more punishing Master Mode difficulty. But if you're like me and you've picked Breath of the Wild clean or nearly clean between shrines, Korok seeds, compendium tracking, and armor upgrades, it's definitely worth grabbing now if you want a greater test of your skills. Alright, so that's our review of the first DLC offering from the Breath of the Wild Season Pass. Hope you dug it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below, or you can always hit me up directly on Twitter at JoshuaIrishNet if you'd like to talk a little bit more about Breath of the Wild. As always, make sure you keep it right here if you're looking for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, editorials, how-tos, and videos. All that stuff can be found right here, so make sure you subscribe to DBS, and we will see you on the next one. Alright, later.